What is up, everybody? What is up? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Once again, it is your boy, SportsRap CEO, back at you with another great episode of the SportsRap podcast right here on Instagram Live and TikTok. You live, at SportsRap CEO. You know where to find me. You know where I am. All right, so got a couple things to talk about. Excuse me 1 second. Let me just adjust myself here. And give myself a little bit more light there. All right, that's better. So, got some things that we need to talk about. Some things I felt like we should talk about. But before I do that, get back into it a little bit. I'm going to give you some scores. We are in the baseball season as well, so it's going to be a lot of scores. NCAA tournament, we're going to talk about that shortly after the scores. We're going to talk a little bit of Sixers. And then we're just going to talk. I know y'all saw the video I posted about some rebranding, adjusting some things in the format of the show, but we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So, kicking it off, NBA scores is what I had first. So, NBA scores from Sunday, yesterday. All right, Clippers 127, Bucks 113. Pacers get by the Heat 135, 118. Hopefully, they soften them up for us tonight. The Kings fall to the Nets 116, 99. The Wizards fall to the Blazers, 123 to 88. The Magic and the Raptors take that 139, 87. The Celtics get by the Hornets, 114, 99. The Rockets get by the Pelicans, 134, 102. The Knicks fall to the Thunder, 111, 100. And the Warriors fall to the Nuggets, 116 to 93. In Major League Baseball, the Twins and the Orioles take that 8-6. The Royals get by the Braves 4-1. The Rangers beat up on the Phillies 8-3. The A's fall to the Blue Jays 5-2. The Red Sox fall to the Reds 3-2. The Pirates get by the Mets 4-3. The Rockies fall to the Marlins 4-3. The Angels get beat by the Astros 9-7. The Brewers get by the White Sox 9-7 as well. The Royals, what's up, Mighty? The Rays get by the Cardinals 11-7. The Nationals double up on the Cubs 6-3. And the Guardians get blanked by the Mariners 8-0. In the NHL, the Panthers fall to the Rangers 3-1. The Bruins get by the Blue Jackets 4-3. Canadians get over the Hurricanes 3-1. The Lightning outlast the Predators 3-2. The Devils beat the Blackhawks 5-3, and the Flyers get by the Stars 2-1. All right. In the tournaments, men's and women's, in the men's, going into the Final Four. The Final Four is now set. We'll talk about that in just a second, but just to give you some scores real quick. Tennessee falls to Michigan 95-62, and UConn just barely does it, but they do it. They beat Duke 73-72 to advance to the Final Four. And then the women's side, Notre Dame gets beat by UConn 70-52. And Duke women also lose on the same day to UCLA 70-58. Shout outs to my guy, JC. Keep going, JC. I see y'all moving into the Final Four. Hopefully you can get back into that championship game. But again, like I said, I'm watching. You know I am watching. And when it's all over, when it's all said and done, I'll definitely shoot you a message. Hopefully it'll be some congratulations on a championship, unless you're going up against my Philly girl. But then again, nah, it's all love there. Make sure y'all check out the UCLA women's basketball team. They are a pretty good team too, and they are some size. They are pretty big. So, moving into that, we're gonna talk men's bracket because the men's bracket is set already in their Final Four. UConn will face off against Illinois, and Arizona will face off against Michigan. So, looking at this, I told people from very early in the tournament when they first did the seedings, I said to a lot of people, I felt like Duke was going to get knocked off. I thought it would have happened somewhere around the Sweet 16, but they made it through the Sweet 16, and they finally got beat by UConn. Like I said, UConn just escaped, but I was always told all you need is 1 point ahead or 1 point more and you get the win. So they got what they needed. and they knocked off Duke. They face off against Illinois, and then Michigan, who beat up on Tennessee yesterday, will face off against Arizona. All right. So how are your brackets going? I'm sure there are some busted brackets, as always. We expect that. But anybody still have a pretty live and kicking bracket? I'd like to hear from you. Leave me some comments. Let me know how your bracket is doing. I know I didn't really do one this year, not even for fun, because I knew I was going to be covering it every round on the show this year. So I didn't want to give myself too much work to do. But looking at this Final Four, if I had to go with a championship game for the Final Four, I'm going to go not Michigan. I'm going to go Zona, Arizona, UConn. The reason I say that, I liked what I saw from Michigan yesterday, and again, as I was talking to my cousin, I didn't realize that how good they were actually until yesterday when I saw them. But I haven't seen much of Illinois, seen UConn, and I also know that Arizona is just good. I know that. I've seen them quite a bit, and I just know that they're just good. So that would be my pick, Arizona and UConn for the men's national title. On the women's side, we got some games tonight to round out. 4 teams playing for the last 2 places in the women's Final Four. Like I said, UConn's women have already advanced, and UCLA has already advanced to the Final Four on the women's side. So tonight you got Texas and Michigan and South Carolina and TCU. So that's that for the women's. And the men's tournaments. Again, like I said, your brackets are still doing good. Get in the comments and let me know. If they're not doing any good, still get in the comments and let me know how your brackets are going right now. Because I know some people might still have some brackets. You know, some people sometimes luck up. And again, like we said, we never know how the tournament is going to play out. Right? It's just, like I said, it's the best time of the year for me. Because you never know what's going to happen. Like I said, we had North Carolina. Some of the big names got knocked off kind of early. Some of them were surprises, like the North Carolina game was a surprise. There's no way, again, I can talk about it. We shouldn't have lost that game. There's no way we should have lost that. We had like a 21-point lead at one point and just gave that lead up. Not completely the coaching, but partially the coaching, and thus the coach was fired after that. But again, when you give up leads like that, and again, in that type of tournament, when you have a lead like that, you shouldn't relinquish that lead, especially if you are the team that has more talent. And again, this is no disrespect to VCU, none at all. Great team. That team obviously played great together, played with great energy. No quit in them. No quit in them. So they deserve to win that game for the way that they played that game. But again, on the other side, shouldn't have come to that. But it is what it is, and that game's over. We can't go back and replay it. So that is that. You see me with my Sixers hat on. I know you can see the shirt. If you can't really see the shirt, it is an image of Dr. J. All right, I'll show you all the shirt. I'll lift up so you can all see the shirt. It's an image of Dr. J, and I got my Sixers hat on. So again, Sixers won tonight against the Miami Heat. The Sixers need this game. If the Sixers win this game, they will own the tiebreaker over the Miami Heat as well. Okay. Right now, the Sixers sit still. They're kind of sitting in that 7th seed. Right now, they're record 41-33 in the 7th seed in the play-in tournament. Only a half a game behind the 6th seed the 6th seed Hawks, and 1 full game behind the number 5 Raptors. So something to be done. I didn't look up the Raptors or the Hawks remaining schedules, but I did look up the Sixers remaining schedules. 8 games left. Like I said, 8 games left in the regular season, including tonight's game. So we'll see what happens on tonight. Haven't heard anything about anybody not being able to play again. The Sixers are back again to being fully healthy. We saw what that can look like in that game against the Hornets. It wasn't looking all that great, especially with Paul George coming back after on his second game back, and then Maxey coming into the fray. But they worked it out and they pulled that game out. But you also saw glimpses of what could be with that big three and with the emergence of the rookie VJ Edgecombe. Coach, what's going on? Coach Lowell Rich has joined the fray. Also, Coach, great seeing you out today. Unfortunate the circumstances that we saw each other out, but still really good. Good to see you out. And definitely, as always, definitely appreciate the support. They can beat the Heat. I'm sure they can beat the Heat. Like I said, we beat the Heat. We own the tiebreaker over the Heat, the Hornets, and the Magic. And it's just crazy how the seasons can go, right? The East is pretty much wide open. The Magic at the start of the season were floating around in that top 5 range. Now suddenly they're down to 8th. But they have moved up because Miami's lost a couple games and Charlotte's lost a couple games. So they've moved up just an inch, but they haven't caught us yet. The Sixers are right now in a situation and in a way where you could argue and say they control their own destiny. I think their toughest 2 games out of these remaining 8. So I'm going through the 8 real quick. They got the Heat tonight in Miami. Then they're at the Wizards. They're back home for 2 against the Wolves and the Pistons. Go back on the road for 3. The Spurs, the Rockets, and then the Pacers. And then back home closing out the season against the Bucks. All right, so I think they can beat the Heat tonight. That can be a win. I think they can beat the Wizards, right? Timberwolves, Pistons. Now, the only thing I have to say about these 2 games, they're both home games, right? But the dilemma is these are back-to-back. There's no day in between. This is back-to-back, the 3rd and the 4th. The decision will have to be made whether Joel Embiid plays in both games or plays in one. If I'm going with the thought process of him playing in one, I'm going to have him play in the Pistons games and hopefully get that win. Because that's an Eastern Conference game and you kind of need that game a little bit more than you need the Pistons game. Not saying that it wouldn't help to win and beat the Wolves. The Wolves. But you need that Pistons game a lot more than you need that Wolves game. So I'm going to say there. So as this is going here, 1, 2, 3, 4, the next 4, I got them going 3-1. All right, beating the Heat, beating the Wizards, losing to the Wolves. And like I said, as long as we stay fully healthy, I think at this point we can beat the Pistons. All right. The Spurs probably toss up there. Might lose them. I think we beat them earlier. The Rockets, I think we beat them earlier, but I think if fully healthy, I think we can beat the Rockets. Can win the Pacers, and I know the Bucks are taking. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 2, maybe in the last 8, maybe 4 and 4. But I think the Sixers can gain some momentum. And from what I saw from the Chicago game, Paul George coming back, and then the Hornets game with the fully healthy 15-man roster, Maxey, Oubre, everybody back, and what they did in that game, I feel like they can make some noise. And I'm also starting to feel like what's coming true is what a lot of people had said on podcasts and other things, and these are like former players that have said this, that if the Sixers could put this thing together and stay healthy, they could make some noise, and they could be arguably be a team that a lot of teams don't want to face in the playoffs. You saw that, especially in that Hornets game. Definitely saw it in that Hornets game, that they could be the team that you do not want to mess with or come across in the playoffs. They can make some noise. All right. So again, the 7th seed got 8 games left. Like I said, I know 1, 2, 3, 4. I know for sure. I mean, like I said, things go crazy awkwardly sometimes with the Heat, but I'm sure we can beat the Heat fully healthy. Wizards fully healthy, definitely at the Pacers and at the Bucks. So those are 4 that I feel like the way we are fully healthy, we can definitely win those 4 games. And then again, like I said, the Wolves game is kind of iffy. Pistons, I think we can beat them, but it could go either way. And then the Spurs and the Rockets, they might be looking for some recoup from beating them earlier in the year. But I think the Sixers are right now in a great place. Like I said, and the best part about it is the health and the way that these guys are playing. Like when I told you when we first got Paul George, and then the second year, even though we had the injuries again, I kept saying to you that it looked like he was not really confident on when he could go. Last 2 games, first game him coming back against the Bulls and then against the Hornets, you saw it. In that Bulls game, Joel Embiid came out from the gate immediately, employing himself, showing his dominance. Second half, Paul George picked up. Same thing. Wednesday night, was it Wednesday night, whatever night it was, against the Hornets, Paul George, when we needed a bucket, he worked and got us buckets. He even played some D. And I'm sitting at work, I'm talking to some coworkers, and I'm looking at highlights of that game, the replay and the highlights of the game. And I'm saying to him, look, told y'all, if this thing, they can stay healthy. And I said, talking about him, I said that's still, and I know he's not the Paul George from the early Indiana Pacers days and some of the other days earlier in his career when he was very, very dominant, but he's still Paul George. And in the last 2 games, I think he kind of showed people that I'm still Paul George. I may not be as quick, may not be as agile as I used to, I may not be as fast, I'm a little banged up, but I'm still Paul George. I'm not like I'm just a totally different person, completely can't do anything at all. I am still Paul George. Just like Joel Embiid has come out in the last 2 games and showed people. I did have a little oblique. My knees were bothering me. He even put out that his knees haven't been a problem in a long time. He came out and showed still Joel Embiid. I was a little banged up. I came back, and now I'm back again. But I'm still Joel Embiid. When I want to be Joel Embiid, I'm still Joel Embiid. So again, like I said, Sixers, I feel like are in a great place. We just gonna ride this wave into the playoffs, man. And I think it's gonna be a good ride, right? Have some fun tonight. Watch the game tonight, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, Miami Heat, probably a 7 o'clock game or 8 o'clock game down there, probably on NBC Sports Philly. So you can check the game out. Most of you I know had the Fire Sticks and all that other stuff, so you can find the game and find the channel and whatever and watch the game. Support the Sixers, man. It's going to be fun. I'll tell you that now. It is going to be fun. Don't forget, you got 2. I'm going to give y'all schedules of games tonight as well anyway before I close out. 2 women's games tonight to close out their Final Four. Men's Final Four is already set. There you have it. Your biggest sports stories, in my opinion, for today, for this week, beginning of this week, are in the books. We know it is March the 30th. Tomorrow is April 1st, which means the draft is in a couple of weeks. I think it's now approximately like 2 weeks away, the NFL draft. 1 quick mock draft, and I'll probably have a couple more as we get closer to the draft. But this one that I have for the Eagles addresses some positions of question / need, maybe not immediately, but in the very near future. All right. They made some moves in the offseason. They had 9 picks. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They still have 9 picks in this NFL draft. All right. And then if you think about it, they have at least 1 pick in every round except for the 7th round. So here we go. And this is just a mock draft, like I said. All right. Round 1, I don't have the number of the pick actually, but round 1, tight end Kenya Sadiq from Oregon. I'm sorry. In round 2, an interior offensive lineman Emmanuel Pregnon, also from Oregon. In round 3, an edge rusher, Danny Dennis Sutton from Penn State. Also in the 3rd round, safety Jalon Kilgore from South Carolina. In the 4th round, wide receiver Ted Hurst from UConn. Also in the 4th round, defensive tackle Caleb Proctor from Southeast Louisiana. 5th round, offensive tackle Brian Parker from Duke. Also in the 5th round, linebacker Bryce Butcher from Oregon. And in the 6th round, an edge rusher Mason Rieger from Wisconsin. So again, like I said, edge, a couple edges there, linebacker, some interior offensive linemen, some points of need. Like I said, maybe not like right immediately, but in the very near future, you will need to fill those positions. And again, you get these guys in the draft, heats and helps you out a lot as far as salary cap and anything. I saw a stat yesterday going into free agency from the beginning. The Eagles were like 10th in the league, had like 12 million, 12 point something in salary and cap space. After the moves that they made, now they sit at looking at 38 or just about 38 mil in cap space. So, told you they got 9 picks. A couple of those picks are doubled up in some rounds. Don't be surprised of how we make some moves, especially like you said with that 38 mil, close to 38 mil in cap space. Don't be surprised if something happens. All right. So I talked to you in a short video a couple days ago, and I spoke to you about how I was running through some things, going through some things in my head. Looking at the shows that I had done, the most recent ones, shows that I had done in the past, looking at some interviews that I had completed, just perusing the YouTube page. Still doing some work on the website, and just like I said, doing some work on that YouTube page as well. But I decided that I want to bring more of the culture, the hip hop culture, into the fray, and how it relates to sports. And because I did a one whole show on it, and how it relates to sports, the crossover, and how rappers want to be athletes and how some athletes want to be rappers. And again, I just thought about it and thinking about myself, that I'm part of the culture. I wear hats. I try to stay in tune with a lot of the culture. Some of the culture I'm not into is just out of my comfort zone, out of my age bracket as well. And I like to stay up to date with a lot of stuff, especially like the music, especially the music, hip hop music and the culture in that form. So I plan on bringing more of that into the fray, as I grow and as we continue to listen. So in doing that, and in that thought process, I came across a couple of stories that I wanted to bring into the fray, just to talk about it, to talk about some things, and to get that ball rolling, and see what your take is on it. And then this will also help me gauge how I can bring more stories in to the episodes and to the show. So one of the stories I talked about, and I kind of thought it was fitting because we are actually witnessing an end to the NCAA tournaments right now. And again, like I said, one of the biggest sports times of the year. People talk about, of course, they say the Super Bowl is the biggest sports day of the year. But these few weeks of the NCAA tournament, I think, are like right close up there with that one day of the Super Bowl. And what I found was an article from an interview, and some excerpts from an interview of one Nikki Giovanni, the great poet Nikki Giovanni. This is going back to 1994, mind you. All right. But again, when I tell you what was said back in 1994, and you may not get it right away, it may take you after the show, or it may take you to see it again on YouTube to get it and see how it relates to still what's going on today. So back in 1994, Nikki Giovanni described the NCAA as one of the biggest slave systems going on, quote unquote, end quote. All right. She highlighted again, said the organization as $1 billion industry that exploited black athletes, particularly referencing the exploitation surrounding the Final Four. All right. It says the systemic critique. Her remarks identify the NCAA structure as a modern continuation of forced labor. Athletes generated massive revenue for institutions without fair compensation. Hold on to that for a second. All right. The context. She made these comments at the time when discussions about athlete compensation and the commercialization of college sports were not as mainstream as they are today, positioning her as a truth teller in recognizing this injustice. And then the legacy. Her commentary highlighted the exploitation of black athletes by white-dominated sports institutions. All right, so with all of that, okay, think about what was said. Talked about them not being compensated. And then it also said in there, it acknowledged that at 94, things weren't like they are today. There are numerous NIL deals currently going on within the NCAA. But back then, her point was these young people come to these schools, they bring in this revenue for these schools, and they are not compensated for the jobs that they do. At one point in the interview, she actually referenced to a couple of players, African American descent, who made the Final Four, and just ironically couldn't afford to physically purchase a T-shirt that says the memorabilia, like after they sell everything, when you win, then they sell T-shirts online and all that in the stores. She said they couldn't afford to buy the T-shirts for the championship team and recognition that on a team that they just played for and won. So you see her point. Now, what I said to you, I said hold it and see how it relates to today. It's one thing, and like I said, you can't really relate that because the conversation was totally different back then than what it is now. And the conversation now would blow that conversation out of the water because there are players getting absurd amounts of money in college. I just saw something yesterday as well. A redshirt freshman, I'm not going to get a name, but if you want to, you can look it up. A redshirt freshman is getting $20 million a year in an NIL deal, getting paid approximately $3,400 a day. So that part there, that conversation could not be had. It's a conversation with today and what's going on today, but below it out of the water. And again, like we say, the conversations were totally different from then and now. Totally different. But the forced labor, where if you're not really a sports person, you may not see it. But for me, I understand it and I see it, and I take it in a different angle because of what I do now here talking to you guys, also being a former athlete, a coach, and a referee. So I see things a little differently. But I do see it. Whereas you have these players, and especially in this tournament time, you're going to have players that are going to get worked because they're allegedly the best players on the team. I was watching one game, the one game against Duke that I watched, the second round, where the player from the team kind of tweaked his ankle, but he was arguably the best player on the opposing team and was having a really good game, and he continued to play on that bum ankle. Right? And like I said before, it's a lot of factors now that go into this NCAA tournament thing, and I mentioned some of them to you before, and I mentioned a lot of the good things, like I said, that particular young man played on that ankle. Arguably could have been a senior. He doesn't know if his team is going to be back again, but he's playing in the NCAA tournament. Again, 68 teams make it, right? Or whatever, how many teams they have now that make it. But it's so many schools in the country and across the country that there are teams that never make the tournament. There are teams that are usually one and done. So again, for those athletes, I understand those parts in it where I want to play because I don't know if or when I'm going to be back here again. So I get that part. But like I said, coaching staffs and things of that nature will tend to lean a little bit harder on their star players to advance, because once you get into the tournament, it's one and done. It's only going to be one team undefeated, and it's only going to be one team that has one loss. Well, a lot of teams are going to have one loss, but one team is going to have a really important loss, and one team is going to go undefeated. Okay, so I get why those guys want to play, but you see my point in that, just making it that simple for you, how what Nicky Barney said back in 1994 relates to the game today. It's going to relate to another topic I'm going to get to in just a moment. And when I get into the pros and the aspect of the pros and some things that were said by Richard Jefferson. All right. But again, relatable, right? You understand it. These college players are who they are. They're getting the money now, so that conversation is kind of dead, but still the same system. You have kids on college teams that fill out rosters that sometimes don't play for the entire time that they're on the team, unless the team is getting blown out or they're blown out or they're in the tournament. This could be their last game in the NCAA tournament, or it's just a blowout and they're advancing, and now you give your players some rest. And typically at that point, it's usually like a 2.5 maybe minute run that they get. And those games are 40 minutes long. So you understand my point there. All right. Moving along, I mentioned Richard Jefferson. And he had some comments in regards to the ratings and the drop in ratings for the NBA. All right. Some of the things he said, some of his key factors, all right, contributing to the low ratings. All right. He said the player habits, all right, the 82 game schedule, and the impact of load management. All right, so here we go. Load managing player availability. He expressed his frustration with star players sitting out games. He says it directly impacts the fan engagement and viewership. Absolutely. I've done it. I'm a beloved Sixers fan, but I've been watching some games here and there, when I'm up and we're able to watch games. But I've also had some games, especially for us the last couple of seasons, where I look at the injury report, nobody's playing, especially not the stars. So at that point, uninterested. I don't even care if it's a star playing on the other team. I'm generally uninterested. So I get his point there. It happens. People pay their hard-earned money to see the alleged stars in the league. And it gets disappointing, especially for the younger generation, when you spend money or your parents spend their money on tickets to take you to the games to see these particular players. And then you either find out the night of the game before you're going or on the way there, or once you get there that somebody that you really wanted to see or came to see is not playing. Changes your viewpoint, changes your whole thought process of that game. And like you said, if you're at home and you wanted to watch it on TV, there's a good chance that you do like I do and check out and become uninterested very quickly. He's talked about the 82 game schedule. All right, argued against shortening the season. He said the players should be conditioned to handle the workload, and that shortening it compromises the integrity of historical records and the nature of the sport. So I don't think they're going to shorten the season, but I understand where he's going with that because when you think about it, an 82 game regular season, then you've got at least 3 rounds in the playoffs, and let's say, just the same, alleging that this team advances to the finals. That's another 21 more games, possibly, because there's 7-game series. So you figure 3 series, another 21 games. So now you're looking at 103 games. A lot of games. A lot of play. And again, the same way, like I said, stars in the NBA are going to play a lot more than the non-stars. The lack of physicality and style of play. While not solely blaming this, he has pointed to the shift in the game, noting the removal of hand checking and increased focus on offense has made the game feel less competitive to some viewers. Okay. I talk to people a lot who say they don't even watch the NBA at all because everyone wants to shoot 3-pointers. A while back, Mark Jackson, former coach of the Golden State Warriors, right before he was let go there, was in an interview, and he talked about this particular subject of all the players, everybody now wants to shoot threes. He said it kind of ruined the game, the way that aspect has turned in the NBA, which is what the kids are watching. He said now when he goes in the gyms, he sees everybody shoot threes. And we see it in the NBA. Everybody can shoot the 3, or everybody attempts to shoot the 3. Watching that Charlotte Hornets game in transition, these guys don't even run. Stand back, my guy. They don't even fill the lane and go to the rim anymore. They hover and then float around the 3-point line. They drive to look to kick out to the 3-point shot. But that's everyone. Tanking and competitiveness. Change how teams are rewarded for losing. Proposing solutions to prevent teams from intentionally losing games at the end of the season, which ruins the product for fans. Right, this is what I said. Like those couple of games, I said the Sixers have to play against teams that we know are tanking. The Bucks, the Wizards, the Pacers. Should be 3 wins for us. He said these issues are related to a lack of accountability for conditioning and maintaining competitiveness throughout the long season, rather than the season being too long. So, in other words, he's saying, in some ways also, the players are to blame, because the players are definitely not enjoying themselves, or are not taking care of themselves. Got you. I'm working on that. I didn't know that. I'm glad you told me that. The players are not taking care of themselves like they really should. You know, going in, you have an 82 game season. You know that going in, right? Definitely know that going in, you have an 82 game season. I don't understand how you don't take care of your body as a professional athlete when that's your craft. That is what you need to do. You need to protect and hone your craft. Why would you because there's a draft every year. Sometimes there are people on your team who haven't been playing and that are trying to play. So if you start to lack, then it's like next man up. We all know that phrase, next man up, right? And people will definitely try to get you into that. So you think about it, and you add the players not being all the way 100% in on taking care of themselves, or some players, and then you also talk about the load management. I don't like the load management because I think a lot more times than not, some of the injuries are just fabricated so that the players can sit out. And again, like we know, you have to give a report on injuries for why players are out. But again, now they give them the easy way out, and they can say load management, and then they can fabricate some type of injury, any type of injury that they want, and call it load management. Makes no sense to me. I feel like if you are at that level, you should be taking care of yourself, and you should want to be out there playing. It always takes me back to the story with Kobe Bryant when he talked. It was in an interview, and someone asked him about why did he play a lot of times when he was hurt or injured. He said his wife asked him the same thing. He said, "Well, I do it because I don't know if this kid or this person that spent their hard-earned money to see me. Why should I neglect them from that? If they paid that money to come see me, who am I to not show up? So I feel like obligated that I need to show up." There's a lot of respect for that. Another article, it says that fans believe that the league has chipped away all the basic promise of sports. In recent years, the regular season has often felt like a suggestion instead of a must-watch event, with stars sitting out for rest, minor injuries, load management, or vague day-to-day issues. You heard I said that. Vague day-to-day issues. All right? Vague issues. I understand that. The nonstop gambling talk surrounding broadcast, pregame coverage, and online discussion has changed the tone of the product. Like, I think that has an effect because, as we know now with the legal sports betting, you can literally be at a game and bet on stuff while the game is going on. You can bet before the game, and like I said, that's the most intriguing part for a lot of people. You can bet on things while the game is actually going on. All right? Also causes some controversy where now we had the big scandal. It also makes you look at the league a little bit differently. Too much of the conversation revolves around odds, props, and betting angles instead of rivalry, pride, teamwork, and greatness. Yeah, you have like total shows that deal with sports betting. That's all they talk about is the point spreads and player props and all that. Like, they're not talking about the game. They're just talking about the bets that you can make. Transaction, then competition, constant replay reviews, foul baiting, soft whistles, endless commercial interruptions, and a style of play that many casual fans see as repetitive because of the flood of three-point shots. Again, like we said, the flood of three-point shots. So many players, and so many teams rely on that three-point shot. You know, Charles Barkley used to say a thing, you live and die by that three-point shot. I think that's what happened to the Hornets the other night because they couldn't make them late when it counted. And then again, the Sixers just stepped up on both ends of the floor. Defense was lagging in the first half, and the rebounding was horrible in the first half. I mean, basically throughout that entire game, the rebounding was horrible. I mean, I think the Charlotte Hornets had 20 or more offensive rebounds in that game, which is like unheard of. The only good thing is the Sixers had 3.5 bona fide scores. And I say that half for VJ because when he's dedicated, he can be in the flow and in the mix as well. But the other, you know, the three I'm talking about, bona fide scores. That can give it to you all three at all three levels and not just from the three or just going to the cup. They can give it to you all three levels. So it was great to see that back. And again, you know, it's different than teams just launching. Like I said, when you watch these games now, just take a peek at what's going on and what plays are being run. You have guys that will not step inside the three-point line. Guards that will drive and run completely through the lane from one side of the court to the other, or drive to look and not to look and dish for a layup in a traditional and one or whatever, but to look and kick out to the three-point line when you're close enough to make a layup. So it's gotten kind of crazy with the three-point shot. It has. I have to admit it's gotten kind of crazy. And again, like we said, everybody shoots the three. Everybody. And I'm not saying that certain players shouldn't shoot the three. I'm saying they shouldn't shoot as much as they do. Because I know and understand that that's the game now. The NBA game, I know that's the game now. But there are certain players that shouldn't shoot the three-pointer as much as they do. It's just a known fact. No other way to explain it. But that is just like I said, just a known fact. Looking at the NBA today, again, it's a league now built on fast-paced scoring and whatever. You see what has transpired with the All-Star game. I think this past All-Star game, the way the format was, and I told you how I would change it. Instead of having those 4 teams, just make it 2 teams, the USA against the world, and just have one full 48-minute All-Star game. Because again, like I said, remember, people look forward to that All-Star game. People that live on the West Coast, people that live on the East Coast and in the middle, you have restrictions on games and all that stuff, so you don't get to see the stars that you might want to see all the time. But for this one particular day, you get to see all of the stars and arguably all of your favorite players in one particular moment on the court at the same time. But again, when we look back at this year's All-Star game, it was competitive from the very beginning. Even though it was broken down into 4 teams and shorter games, like the equivalent of a quarter. But it was competitive. It was more competitive than All-Star games had been in the past couple of years. So like I said, that's why I said for me, I would just do a 1-game, 48-minute All-Star game, USA versus the world, and just have at it. I mean, because the competitive nature that was set this year, you already have a strong platform, a strong basis for that going USA versus the world. Because the world team did not win a game at all. So you know if you propose that, they're all in to get some revenge back. Remember, they didn't win a game at all. So again, you already had a basis set for them to come in with a small chip on their shoulder to get some revenge back. Could make a great game and a great All-Star Sunday. Just a thought on some things that I've been thinking about. I hope you all enjoyed today's show. Again, you know what I say. I'll see you all week in traffic on social media. I'll give you these scores. I mean, these games scheduled for games for tonight before I close out. For Monday tonight, Major League Baseball, we got Twins and Royals, Rangers, Orioles, Pirates, Reds, Nationals, Phils, White Sox, Marlins, Rockies, Jays, A's, Braves, Angels, Cubs, Rays, Brewers, Mets, Cardinals, Red Sox, Astros, Yankees, Mariners, Giants, Padres, Guardians, Dodgers, Tigers, D-backs. In the NBA, you got the Sixers and the Heat, the Celtics and the Hawks. Come on. And I'm not going to say it, but it'd be nice if the Hawks did not win tonight. Bulls, Spurs, Suns, Grizzlies, T-Wolves, Mavs, Cavs, Jazz, Pistons, Thunder, and Wizards, Lakers. In the NHL, you got Penguins, Islanders, Flames, Avalanche, Maple Leafs, Ducks, Blues, Sharks, Canucks, Golden Knights. And in the women's NCAA tournament, 4 teams fighting for the last 2 Final Four spots. Michigan and Texas, and TCU and South Carolina. Folks, again, like I always say, be great on purpose. I hope you enjoy this beautiful Monday afternoon. You know where to find me. TikTok, Instagram, Threads, at SportsRap CEO. Make sure you get over and check out the YouTube page. There's a ton of content up there. Make sure you get over there and do the trifecta. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up on the videos that you like, and then hit that bell so you know when new content is up. Comments, concerns, anything, questions about any of today's topics, please, down there in the bottom, leave them in the comments. I'll get back to them and check. If you want to wait, you can wait till the video goes up. It will go up on YouTube always, like I always do. And again, I will talk to you all in traffic on social media all week. Right back live, social media, Monday. Peace. Also, don't forget heat100radio.airtime.pro, where you can get audio, music consistently, internet radio. All right. I have to do this before I close out, right? Shout outs to Coach Pete, who's been sending me music. I've been telling y'all week after week, if you're an artist, send your music. So, Coach, I'm still working on that. I got some of it up in there in rotation. I'm going to get anything you send me. I've been trying to get it up in rotation as fast as I can. Also, again, if you're an artist, send the music, Gmail, hit my DM, add music in your DM, and I'll give you the email address to send the music to. You got a business you want to advertise, in the DM, hit add in the MO. And if you are just want to talk about yourself, you want to get an interview done. You've seen some interviews that I have done. You want to interview yourself. You have a team. You have a player. You have some coaches or whatever you want interviewed. You have an organization that you want to bring some kids up and interview, some boxers, whatever you want. DM and hit interview in the message. Talk to y'all next week. Peace.